Hello, good evening. Let's try finish reading. I was watching the early Danish evening news, so I'm freezing a little bit.
Israeli tanks and APCs at the Mukhtar in Ramallah during the Second Intifada, 2002. The Palestinians. Instead, opposition leader Ariel Sharon was elected PM. After this election, the system of directly electing the premier was abandoned. The failure of the peace process, increased Palestinian terror and occasional attacks by Hezbollah from Lebanon, led much of the Israeli public and political leadership to lose confidence in the Palestinian Authority as a peace partner. Most felt that many Palestinians viewed the peace treaty with Israel as a temporary measure only. 124. Many Israelis were thus anxious to disengage from the Palestinians. In response to a wave of suicide bombatics, culminating in the Passover massacre, see list of Israeli civilian casualties in the Second Intifada, Israel launched Operation Defensive Shield in March 2002, and Sharon began the construction of a barrier around the West Bank. Around the same time, the Israeli town of Sderot and other Israeli communities near Gaza became subject to constant shelling and mortar bombatics from Gaza. Thousands of Jews from Latin America began arriving in Israel due to economic crises in their countries of origin. In January 2003, separate elections were held for the Knesset. Likud won the most seats, 27. An anti-religion party, Shinui, led by media pundit Tommy Lapid, won 15 seats on a secularist platform, making it the third largest party, ahead of Orthodox Shas. Internal fighting led to Shinui's demise at the next election. In 2004, the Black Hebrews were granted permanent residency in Israel. The group had begun migrating to Israel 25 years earlier from the United States, but had not been recognized as Jews by the Stati and hence not granted citizenship under Israel's law of return. They had settled in Israel without official status. From 2004 onwards, they received citizens' rights. The Sharon government embarked on an extensive program of construction of desalinization plants that freed Israel of the fear of drought. Some of the Israeli desalinization plants are the largest of their kind in Thule. 125. In May 2004, Israel launched Operation Rainbow in southern Gaza to create a safer environment for the IDF soldiers along the Philadelphia route. On the 30th of September 2004, Israel carried out Operation Days of Penitence in northern Gaza to destroy the launching sites of Palestinian rockets which were used to attack Israeli towns. In 2005, all Jewish settlers were evacuated from Gaza, some forcibly, and their homes demolished. Disengagement from the Gaza Strip was completed on the 12th of September 2005. Military disengagement from the northern West Bank was completed 10 days later. In 2005, Sharon left the Likud and formed a new party called Kadima, which accepted that the peace process would lead to creation of a Palestinian state. He was joined by many leading figures from both Likud and Labour. Hamas won the 2006 Palestinian legislative election, the first and only genuinely free Palestinian elections. Hamas leaders rejected all agreements signed with Israel, refused to recognize Israel's right to exist, refused to abandon terror, and occasionally claimed the Holocaust was a Jewish conspiracy. The withdrawal and Hamas' victory left the status of Gaza unclear, as Israel asserted it was no longer an occupying power but continued to control air and sea access to Gaza, although it did not exercise sovereignty on the ground. Egypt insisted that it was still occupied and refused to open border crossings with Gaza, although it was free to do so. 126. In April 2006, Ariel Sharon was incapacitated by a severe hemorrhagic stroke and Ehud Omer became Prime Minister. 127. Late 2000s and 2010s. Late 2000s. In 2005, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was elected president of Iran and the Israel-Iran proxy conflict intensified. Ehud Omer was then elected prime minister after his party, Kadima, won the most seats, 29, in the 2006 Israeli legislative election. On the 14th of March 2006, Israel carried out an operation in the Palestinian Authority prison of Jericho to capture Ahmed Sadat and several Palestinian Arab prisoners located there who assassinated Israeli politician Rehavam Zedevi in 2001. The operation was conducted as a result of the expressed intentions of the newly elected Hamas government to release these prisoners. On the 25th of June 2006, a Hamas force crossed the border from Gaza and attacked a tank, capturing Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit, sparking clashes in Gaza. 128. Nahal Brigade soldiers returning after 2006 Lebanon war. On the 12th of July, Hezbollah attacked Israel from Lebanon, shelled Israeli towns and attacked a border patrol, taking 2 dead or badly wounded Israeli soldiers. These incidents led Israel to initiate the Second Lebanon War, which lasted through August 2006. Israeli forces entered some villages in southern Lebanon, while the Air Force attacked targets all across the country. Israel only made limited ground gains until the launch of Operation Changing Direction 11, which lasted for 3 days with disputed results. Shortly before a UN ceasefire came into effect, Israeli troops captured Wadi Saluki. The war concluded with Hezbollah evacuating its forces from southern Lebanon, while the IDF remained until its positions could be handed over to the Lebanese armed forces and UNIFIL. In 2007, education was made compulsory until the age of 18 for all citizens. It had been 16. Refugees from the genocide in Darfur, mostly Muslim, arrived in Israel illegally, with some given asylum. 129. Illegal immigrants arrived mainly from Africa in addition to foreign workers overstaying their visas. The numbers of such migrants are not known, and estimates vary between 30,000 and over 100,000. An American billionaire casino owner, Sheldon Adelson, set up a free newspaper, Israel Hayom, with the press intention of reducing the influence of the dominant, center-left, newspaper Yediot Aharonot and accelerating a rightward shift in Israeli politics by supporting Netanyahu. 130. In June 2007, Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip in the course of the Battle of Gaza. 131. Seizing government institutions and replacing Fatah and other government officials with its own. 132. Following their takeover, Egypt and Israel imposed a partial blockade, on the grounds that Fatah had fled and was no longer providing security on the Palestinian side, and to prevent arms smuggling by terrorist groups. On 6 September 2007, the Israeli Air Force destroyed a nuclear reactor in Syria. On the 28th of February 2008, Israel launched a military campaign in Gaza in response to the constant firing of Qassam rockets by Hamas militants. On the 16th of July 2008, Hezbollah swapped the bodies of Israeli soldiers Ehud Goldwasser and Eldad Regev, kidnapped in 2006, in exchange for the Lebanese terrorist Samir Kantar, 4 Hezbollah prisoners and the bodies of 199 Palestinian, Arab and Lebanese fighters. 133. Omer came under investigation for corruption, and this led him to announce on the 30th of July, 2008, that he would be stepping down as Prime Minister following election of a new leader of the Kadima Party in September 2008. Tzipi Livni won the election, but was unable to form a coalition, and Omer remained in office until the general election. Israel carried out Operation Cast Lead in the Gaza Strip from 27 December 2008 to the 18th of January 2009 in response to rocket attacks from Hamas militants. 134. In the 2009 legislative election, Likud won 27 seats and Kadima 28. However, the right-wing camp won a majority of seats, and President Shimon Peres called on Netanyahu to form the government. Russian immigrant-dominated Israel Beteinu came third with 15 seats, and Labour was reduced to fourth place with 13 seats. In 2009, Israeli billionaire Yitzhak Tshuvah announced the discovery of huge natural gas reserves off the coast of Israel. 135. Early 2010s. On the 31st of May, 2010, an international incident broke out in the Mediterranean Sea when foreign activists trying to break the maritime blockade over Gaza clashed with Israeli troops. During the struggle, 9 Turkish activists were killed. In late September 2010 took place direct negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians without success. As a defensive countermeasure to the rocket threat against Israel's civilian population, at the end of March 2011 Israel began to operate the Advanced Mobile Air Defense System Iron Dome 136 in the southern region of Israel and along the border with the Gaza Strip. Protest in Tel Aviv on the 6th of August 2011. On the 14th of July 2011, the largest social protest in the history of Israel began, in which hundreds of thousands of protesters from a variety of socio-economic and religious backgrounds in Israel protested against the continuing rise in the cost of living, particularly housing, and the deterioration of public services in the country, such as health and education. The peak of the demonstrations took place on the 3rd of September 2011, in which about 400,000 people demonstrated across the country. In October 2011, a deal was reached between Israel and Hamas, by which the kidnapped Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit was released in exchange for 1,027 Palestinians and Arab Israeli prisoners. 137, 138. In March 2012, Secretary General of the Popular Resistance Committees, Zuhar Al-Qazi, a senior PARC member, and 2 additional Palestinian militants were assassinated during a targeted killing carried out by Israeli forces in Gaza. 139, 140. The Palestinian armed factions in the Gaza Strip, led by the Islamic Jihad and the Popular Resistance Committees, fired a massive amount of rockets towards southern Israel in retaliation, sparking 5 days of clashes along the Gaza border. In May 2012, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reached an agreement with the head of opposition Shaul Mofaz for Kadima to join the government, thus cancelling the early election supposed to be held in September. 141. However, in July, the Kadima Party left Netanyahu's government due to a dispute concerning military conscription for ultra-Orthodox Jews in Israel. 142. In June 2012, Israel transferred the bodies of 91 Palestinian suicide bombers and other militants as part of what Mark Regev, spokesman for Netanyahu, described as a humanitarian gesture to PARC Chairman Mahmoud Abbas to help revive the peace talks and reinstate direct negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. 143. On 21 October 2012, United States and Israel began their biggest joint air and missile defense exercise, known as Osphir Challenge 12, involving some 3,500 U.S. troops in the region along with 1,000 IDF personnel, expected to last 3 weeks. 144. Germany and Britain also participated. 145. In response to over 100 rocket attacks on southern Israeli cities, Israel began an operation in Gaza on 14